Welcome to Above Par. I'm your host, Kathy Hartwood. I show you how to take more of your talent to the golf course without practicing harder, taking more lessons, or buying new equipment. I show you how to end the frustration of underperforming so you can start playing to your potential. This is where you are going to learn how to think above par so you can play below par. Let's get to it. Hello, my golf friend. Welcome back to Think Above Par. Hope you're having a beautiful week, beautiful day. Thinking about your golf game. Clearly you're here listening to this right now, whatever time of year you're listening to it, and you're thinking about your golf game. And what I want to talk to you today about is golf responsibility. And it's a concept I'm really sharing with some training that I did, some leadership training I did about the phrase that you're 100% responsible 100% of the time, which means that I take responsibility for the way that I act or that I show up or the things that I do. I want to look for my responsibility in the results that I'm creating for myself. And what that does is it also takes away me placing blame on other people, because if I place blame on other people, then I'm not responsible. They're responsible, right? And then that's a feeling of not being so in control of your results. And we can do this with our golf games and situations out on the golf course. And I just want to talk to you about it to see where you might be giving away some of the responsibility for the results that you're creating. And that includes your score, but also your experience out on the golf course, which I think a lot of people are really missing the point of. Sometimes they think the whole point of playing golf is just to shoot a number. And if they don't shoot that number, their experience was horrible, but really you're out there for 4 to 5 hours, right? And so you enjoying your experience while you're out there, or as best you can, or not letting it go down a horrible hole that's miserable for you, is your responsibility, not something else's or someone else's. So this might hurt some of your brains to think about it this way, because we're so in the habit of blaming people for how we feel. We can blame people for our actions. And I'm not denying that things don't happen to us. So in other words, on the golf course, you could have someone yell in the middle of your backswing, right? And we can blame them for yelling in the middle of our backswing and scaring us and producing a negative shot. We can, but we're also responsible for ourselves and how we showed up over that golf ball. And we're responsible for how we react to that. And we're responsible for what we do next. That is where we get the power back. We can't control bad breaks happening, or not so nice people, or, wonky numbers that we shoot. We get to take responsibility for ourselves at any given moment out on the golf course and our golf game. So let me bring attention to some things that maybe you give away a lot of your power and you blame other things for the results that you're creating. One of the first places I like to go as a history of being a person who took a lot of lessons and a person who gave a lot of lessons is we can blame our instructor or our coach for our speed of the results that we're getting, or maybe that our swing is going in a different direction, and we can blame them. It's their fault that these things are happening, and we're not taking responsibility for it. How would you take responsibility for it? Well, acknowledging that you chose to go there and see that instructor, you're choosing to continue going, you're choosing to practice, you're choosing maybe not to go in another direction. You got to take responsibility for the path that instructor perhaps set you down. Right? You also get to learn from it. It was my choice. It was my decision. Now I'm going to go in a different direction. It wasn't always for all for naught. Sometimes we can think that way. So are you blaming a coach? Are you blaming an instructor for the results that you're creating right now? A lot of times when we play golf, we can blame our conditions, the wind, course conditions, the temperature, the pace of play, the speed of the greens, for how we showed up and how it affected us on the golf course. Right? We could say things like, it was just super slow. It was going to be a 5.5 hour round. I lost my mind out there. If it wasn't a 5.5 hour round, I wouldn't have lost my mind. Okay. No, the deal where you take responsibility is I let the 5.5 hour round affect me and my results on the golf course and how I showed up in my experience. I was miserable. I'm responsible. Could be that the greens just got aerated and you're saying to yourself that they were and you're saying to yourself that there's nobody can putt well on these. It was a horrible day out there. Of course I scored poorly and it was just no fun. That's on you. It's not the conditions. I'm not saying that they're great to play in, but how you show up How you think and feel is your responsibility out on the golf course. So are you giving away some of your responsibility to different conditions? Other people is another one that's huge. We give away so much of our responsibility on our experience and how we show up and what we shoot to other people on the golf course that we're playing with. It could be spectators, maybe people watching, people around the course, but it's people on the golf course. If this person wasn't so nasty, I would have had a nice day. If this person wasn't such an ass, I wouldn't have been so distracted thinking about them, and I would have scored so much better. If this person didn't have a rules violation on this one hole or they cheated, then my experience would have been so much better. No, it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with what you want to think about it. You're responsible for your experience, not this other person. The other one is your mechanics and your swing, how you're hitting it. Are you being brutally honest with the responsibility that you play in fixing your swing, changing your swing, correcting shots, minimizing errors? Who are you blaming? Or are you taking full responsibility? Like who you might blame or what you might blame could be stories in your head that aren't necessarily true. Like, I'm never going to figure this out. This is as good as it gets. But then you argue about how you're hitting it. Or have you been slicing it for 3 years and you're not making any traction? You're beating yourself up, but you're not taking responsibility for taking the time and putting in the effort to go out and fix the slice that you complain about. Because maybe you don't want to take a lesson. Maybe you don't want to practice. Right? The state of your mechanics, your chipping and your putting and your bunker play and all the things is your responsibility. Right? When I haven't played in a while or I haven't practiced in a while and I go out and I hit some wonky shots, that's totally on me. I'm like, I haven't practiced. Of course I'm going to hit that shot. I got no problem with that. If I want to complain about it, if I want to beat myself up about it, I'm denying the fact that I haven't practiced. Right now I'm not being realistic. I'm not being honest about how much time I put into my game and the results that I'm creating. I'm not taking responsibility for that. Another place that we can do that is with course management, where we give up responsibility for where we put the ball. You're responsible for trying to figure out how to get the ball from point A to point B, from the tee box to the hole in the least amount of shots possible. Nobody else. Not your caddy, not the person in the group who told you to hit a 6 and it was a 7, not someone who told you to aim over there and you should have aimed over there. You're responsible. You're responsible for noticing that things aren't working the way that I'm doing them. And one of the ways that you know that you've given up some of your responsibility is complaining. So the more that you are complaining about where you hit the ball, what you shot, people on the golf course, your coach or your teacher, or your ability to practice or not practice, is a red flag that you're giving away your responsibility. You're not taking responsibility. You're responsible 100% of the time for the results that you're creating on the golf course. And like I said, I'm not saying that things don't happen to you while you're out there. Bad breaks, weird bounces, unusual comments that maybe are a little bit more challenging. It's an opportunity for you to have some growth there. Okay, that person said something that really bugged the crap out of me and I let it affect 2 shots. That's on me. That's not on them. That's on me. Because if you're the problem in this scenario or any one of these scenarios, you're the solution. And that's the best news possible. You don't want to have someone else be the solution. You don't want to have to rely on them. I'm not saying don't get support from people. I'm just saying you get to figure it out. Go and find the right support. Go and find the right instructor. Your range is closed. Go find a range that's open. If practicing is important to you. You don't have a short game area, go find a place to practice your short game. You don't play well in the rain, go practice playing in the rain. Take responsibility. And notice those places where you're not taking responsibility, my friends, because that puts you in the driver's seat. It's such a more empowering place for you to get yourself to the results that you're creating when you're the person in charge and you're the person responsible. You're going to be affected by so much less on the golf course, which is going to create great results for you, but also your experience is going to change. When we blame things outside of us, we don't grow. It's their fault. It's not mine. Therefore, I don't need to change. They need to change for me to have a different experience. Ooey, yucky, no. Right? That puts you in the back seat. You're putting other people at the driver's seat Drive in the bus. Drive in where your results are going. Get in the front seat. Drive your bus. Decide where it's going to go. Take responsibility. And just notice those places where we have a tendency to blame other people and other things outside of us. All right? This suddenly sounded like a harsh podcast. It wasn't meant to be. I've been a person who gave away all my responsibility for most of my life, and I just know the contrast of taking it back. I feel so much more in power of the direction that I'm going instead of allowing other people to decide where I'm going and the results that I create and how fast I create them too. So I hope you got some value out of this. All right, my friends, reach out to me at kathyhartwood.com if you want to take this work a little bit further and see some of the programs that I have. I hope you have a beautiful week, and I'll talk to you next Wednesday. Bye.